Wedding Talk with Mindy and Carol, your insider guide to trends, tips, and stress free planning.
Hi, I'm Carol.
And I'm Mindy. We're two destination wedding travel advisors who plan over 50 destination weddings every year combined.
Today we had mentioned that we were going to do the Majestic this week, but with everything happening in the world, we wanted to discuss the hurricane that happened in Jamaica.
Yeah, so why don't we just dive right into it? Because when a hurricane hits, lots of questions come up, whether it's for your destination wedding or you may just be going to Jamaica or had a trip planned to Jamaica in general. And again, these catastrophes can happen anywhere during hurricane season. So let's just kind of dive into it and talk about what happened and how do you navigate these times?
Yes. One thing that, before, it even hit, there's, I had some clients at Sandals Negril and I saw the storm was coming. So I quickly gave them a call on Tuesday and said, hey, I think, you might want to think about leaving early. You have insurance. You can file a claim with it. Let's think about getting you out of there because if, they say it's going to be a hurricane warning, the airport's going to shut, then you're going to be stuck. And so they thought about it for 24 hours. And by Wednesday, I had them changed to come home on Saturday morning. Everything was changed. They made it home. They indicated to me sitting at the resort that people waited. And on a Friday, they were like panicking because they couldn't get out.
Yeah, because once
So,
those airports close, it's very, very hard to get those flights.
yes.
And if you get
And
stranded, it becomes a trickle down effect because as we saw, people have been stranded there for a while until the planes were able to get there.
yes,
And then something also to keep in mind when things like that happen, after the storm passes, the resorts are not just going to continue to let you stay there without paying some kind of a fee. Yes, they offer you a very reduced rate, but there is going to be a fee that you will have to pay to stay there. Or there are shelters, which may not be ideal for everybody. But, you got to understand when things like this happen, these resorts are in recovery mode at this point, and they still have to ensure your safety. Still have to make sure you're fed. So that's where those fees come into play. They're not doing it to be mean.
yeah. And the big thing, the big concern is, and a lot of people don't even think about it. It's not just that we'll hunker down and then we'll take off, because as we saw, the destruction that happened at the Montego Bay Airport,
Yeah,
that you can't go to an airport that can't fly you out because they're mechanically not working.
yeah,
This will increase more delays. And then to try to get to Kingston when the roads are all under
water.
basically
You
power
can't.
lines and everything else. So there's so many things that, you have to be proactive. You should carry insurance and then have a backup plan because that's just what happens. Unfortunately, there are people that were stuck there, and certain resorts took really good care of them. Other resorts, I saw some things that, you know, they had to let them out after a certain point in time when the storm was over because they were not even operable.
Right, right. And it really is on a case by case basis as to where that resort is located and how much damage that resort took. Because at some point, it also becomes a safety issue.
Yes. And then, now we're looking at looking down the road, not only the people that were there, now we're looking down the road that people need that they're going to be traveling up through the end of the year and some resorts all the way up through June of next year. The questions are coming up. Should I go? Can I go? What should I do? I have my wedding planned. Should I change it? Luckily, my wedding that I have coming up in February is over in Ocho Rios at the Moon Palace, which had no damage. That was not taken care of immediately. They're back up and running, ready for guests. So for them coming up in February, there is no concern. But I know you had one coming up in Montego Bay that is a concern because it's right at the edge of when the resort was going to open.
Yeah, so my couple's wedding is scheduled for June 5th at Sandals Royal Caribbean. And I thought we were out of the clear, we were good to go. And then, boom, the other day, they sent out an email that, Sandals Royal Caribbean, Sandals Montego Bay, and Sandals South Coast are not scheduled to open until May 30th. my couple and their guests are starting to arrive June 2nd, and it's just too close for comfort for them. What happens if something is delayed? Now, yes, I understand resorts do kind of build in some cushions there, but when you're that close, what do we do if we get another email 3 months from now saying, hey, we need to push it back? Then what? Everybody's been paid in full, everything's been planned, everybody has their flight. So it's kind of one of those conversations, and this is one of the big reasons you should be working with a specialist like Carol and myself, because we can't make that decision for you, but we can help guide you and advise you as to what options are available for you. Because at the end of the day, it's your wedding.
Yes. And also, the other thought to keep in mind is that all those other weddings that were during that period of time, or they're going to try to move as well to another place.
Mhm.
Are you going to get airfare there? Your guests are going to have to change things. There's all kinds of moving segments to everything. And, if you're doing a DIY wedding, this is putting so much stress on you as a bride and a couple, let alone your guests constantly calling you. Now, all of a sudden, what you thought was going to be easy is come into making the most disastrous time of your life because you don't know what to do. You're on hold for 2 to 3 hours, and then the phone just dies because they're trying to take care of the people that are traveling immediately in the next 30 days. They don't have the time right now, or probably the staff to help accommodate you for your wedding coming up in February, March, or April.
Right.
So there again, using someone like Mindy and myself, you already have that person to talk to that takes that load off of you. So can't stress more than enough to use, you know, even if you don't use Mindy or myself, you can use, there's so many great wedding specialists out there that can help you. It does not cost you any more. And the stress and the time that you're spending trying to do this could have all been taken care of if you had somebody that knew what was going on and could help you right away.
Right. And when you're also working with a professional like Carol, myself, or, as Carol mentioned, there's so many people out there that are wonderful at what they do, but we have these connections with the resorts, okay? And I was just mentioning about my couple for Sandals Royal Caribbean. Well, within a few minutes, I was able to call some resort partners in different areas and say, listen, hey, this is what's going on. What can you do for me? Those relationships are golden when things come up, because it's giving me a peace of mind, it's giving my couple a peace of mind, knowing that, hey, we can work this out, we can get this moved over, and it will be a very, very smooth transition.
Yes, you're
Not
not
everybody has those relationships with
you're
their resort partners like
you're
that.
not just calling an 800 number and waiting on hold. We don't do that. We don't
No,
have
we
to.
got their personal
Yeah,
cell.
yeah, we get so that, I mean, that's just the big thing, that I think that in itself is a big thing for weddings. What direction to go, and unfortunately natural disasters do happen, and there's nothing, we can't pick Mother Nature or design Mother Nature for anything. As we talked, the resorts need time to recoup, and if you are going to be going down to Jamaica, and you're going to follow through because they say they're going to be open and they're going to be ready, you got to remember that, you've got to give them a little bit of a break too, because they're doing the best they can. The workers that work on that resort, they probably may have lost their home. They're probably living in shelters. They could be just trying to get by. So there's a combination of things that's going to take some time to recover.
Yeah, and the resort may be open and ready to accept you, but also keep in mind, what does the surrounding areas look like? You know, little areas or restaurants or stores that you used to go to may not be there, or they're not opened yet. So just because the resort is open doesn't mean everything around it or the excursions are up and running to what you were used to.
Yes, yes. And and there again, that if you, have options, which we are able to give you some options to make a change if you want to. Jamaica will recover. They're resilient. They will recover. It's just a matter of giving them some time. And then once they do recover, we sure hope that everybody out there doesn't forget them because they love tourism. Their locals depend on tourism, and we need to support them and the resorts as much as we can.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I want to just point out is many people may not realize the full hurricane season, which starts in June and goes through November. And just like what happened in Jamaica can happen in many other Caribbean islands as well. So when you're planning, whether it's just your family vacation or a destination wedding during hurricane season, these are things you have to talk about and think about because, again, we do not have a crystal ball as to what the weather is going to be, if a hurricane is going to happen. God, I wish I did because the amount of time couples ask me, like, well, do you think it's going to rain on my wedding day? I don't know. I just don't know. But resorts always, if they're open, depending on the storm, will always have a plan B in place. But you also have to keep in mind, like, if a hurricane, let's just use Jamaica for example. Jamaica was getting hit with the hurricane, but there were other areas in the Caribbean that were getting heavy rains due to that hurricane as well.
Yeah, the Dominican was one of them. I know that, a lot of people. And the one thing with the Plan B, I know just being on resort at the time of the wedding, when you meet with the wedding planners, once you're on the resort and you've gone through your walkthrough, things like that, the day of the wedding, you have another morning meeting and they take a look at the weather and the time that you're getting married and, they look at the weather. They're really good about knowing about what time period. They might have to move the wedding up maybe 20 minutes or so if you really insist on having it outside. They know it's going to be fine. They'll go through and they'll let you make the final decision. Once you make that final decision that, it's 35% chance of rain and you go with that outside destination, you have to understand in which they explain very clearly that, they're going to start setting up, which means your tables for your reception, everything else is going to go, not just your wedding. And if it does storm on there that, we can't just all of a sudden move it inside. It's done. So, they're very clear about that. So those are some of the things to keep in mind. You can't always plan on a weather situation. And you have to be flexible. That's one of the things with a destination wedding. It's very similar with having a wedding in the US outside. It can
Yeah,
happen. You could have a rainstorm, and a lot of those places do not have a backup plan. At least at
yeah,
these resorts, we have a backup plan that's undercover.
yeah. And the resort teams, they do this enough to help guide you as well when they're looking at the weather,
Yes. Yeah.
and
And that, the other thing that, a lot of times what we run across too is when we do weddings, people that say, I don't want insurance. I don't need insurance. Um, this is really, really a reason of what you've seen happen in Jamaica that you've all seen on social media, TikTok, everywhere you've seen everything, Facebook, everything, all the things of the guests that, sitting on the street waiting to get on the plane, you know, they can't spend any more of their money. They've spent all their out of the pocket. They've maxed their credit cards out. If you have travel insurance, you've got trip interruption insurance. It's there for that reason. It also covers medical coverage when you're out of the country. Some people don't realize that. If you had gotten hurt during the storm or something like that and you needed medical attention, if you didn't have insurance, you wouldn't be covered outside the United States. So there's so many things that are wrapped up in insurance. I know it's an extra cost, but I will tell you from experience, it's worth every dime of it.
yeah, it's a very small price to pay for that peace of mind that it brings.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, people just think it covers like, oh, I can't go. I'm gonna get my money back. And most trip insurance companies, at least the ones that Carol and I deal with, we offer you two different types of options. One would
Yeah.
be they're both cancel for any reason. The guts of the policies are the same. It's just a matter of how are you refunded that money. Do you want it going back on your credit card? Or do you want a trip credit that you will have usually it's about a year to use at various resorts. It doesn't necessarily have to be at the same one that you were booked at, but at least you're protected.
Yeah. And I mean, I can tell you from a past experience of my own destination wedding. Um, we had a guest that came to the wedding, ended up hospitalized, and passed away in country.
Mm.
So if they wouldn't have had insurance, I, I can't even imagine the cost it would have been involved to bring remains back to the United States. People don't think things like that are ever going to happen to them until it does. And that little bit of $79 insurance when something like that happens is nothing.
Yeah.
I will tell you that, the medical bills at the hospital, they it wasn't as good of a policy as you could have had, which you can get additional medical. But still, I think they only had to pay out of pocket maybe $6,000 of their own money, and that was more of a medical hospitalization. They paid nothing to get the remains back to the US. And the things that you have to go through to do that, I can't even, and nobody thinks that's going to happen to them, but when it does, I will tell you that it's worth every single dime.
Yeah, especially like if you get hurt in destination and say, for instance, you just have to go to the hospital for something, they want money up front,
Yes, they
you
charge your
know.
card. They charge your card immediately. And even the ambulance ride, they want to be
Yeah,
paid. When they get you there, they'll take your credit card. They'll take
yeah.
it. They will not,
So
they will not let you even in the ambulance until you have that.
yeah, but at least you'll be able to submit these claims and get that money back.
Correct, correct. So, I mean, that's another thing, I mean, um, I know everyone says it's not going to happen to me. I'm going to go. It's, I'm going whether, whatever. It doesn't have to do just with going down the trip. There's other
Yeah.
things. I mean, people don't even realize that when you leave the country, your health insurance doesn't follow with you.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah. So, and just those little things that just happen. And, there again, by working with somebody that does know this, what is available can help walk you through that. And so that make sure that you're covered. I mean, some people have health issues before they even leave the United States that they may end up needing some care out of country.
Yeah,
And, so we need to talk about those things as well. Um, but other than that, I mean, I guess that was our big thing. If you're going to be going down to Jamaica, after your hotel does open, my suggestion is that, um, look at the Jamaica Tourism Board and see what they're saying that, maybe pack an extra suitcase of things that you could give to people at the resort to help their families. Um, you know, Things are really in short demand right now. I had just seen, I know a friend of mine, he still doesn't have electricity. He's over by Green Island area, still doesn't have electricity. Um, Gas is running short.
mhm.
So their generators, they can't run their generators. I can't imagine being without water and electricity for 3, 4 weeks.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you are looking to make any kind of donations, just be careful because there are a lot of scams out there, as with anything. I know there's a couple of my drivers that I use for transfers, they're collecting donations and things like that. So even if you wanted to do something now, you can reach out to Caroline and myself, and we can kind of guide you as to who is legitimate that will make sure it is being used within the community.
Yes, yes. Those people will be so appreciative.
Yeah,
I've got several friends down there, and one of them, she now lives in Miami, and her sister was over by the Black River. She did lose her home.
yeah,
So, but she's safe. And my friends down there, they did get a WhatsApp text to me, and they said we're okay, and that's all that matters at this point in time.
yeah,
But it's devastating.
yeah.
And
It's
they've
gonna take
lived
a
through a lot
while.
of hurricanes. I mean, they've
Yeah,
lived there their whole life. So, and I try to keep abreast on my Facebook page, and I know Mindy does as well, of anything that's going on. But if you're in any questions at all about who's legit, who's not, please reach out to us because we want to make sure that the right people get the money and someone's not just scamming you.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And the people in Jamaica, they're just so appreciative right now of all the help that they are getting, and they will rebuild.
Yes.
stronger and better than ever. So, if you're recently get engaged and you're thinking of a destination wedding for, 2027, even later into 2026, keep it on your radar because they really
Yes.
would be appreciative of it.
Yes. Yes. And yeah, because we'll be able to have I'm sure we're gonna have many dates available because of the movings of weddings.
Yeah.
If they recover quicker, this is going to be a place that you might be able to slide into a wedding that you may not been able to get anywhere else. As my friend said to me when I texted him, I said, I'm just concerned that you're okay. And he just says, one love, my friend, one love.
Yeah.
That's just the way they are. They're thankful for that they're still here on this earth. They'll recover.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that's all I had to talk about today. I don't know if it was anything that we missed.
No, I think we really covered a lot of it. And as we said, these hurricanes can happen anywhere. So
Mhm.
it's just something you really, really need to talk about and think about if you are planning to do anything during hurricane season. And whether Mexico, Jamaica, other Caribbean islands, every month and season has its pros and cons, you
Exactly. I
know?
mean, and even in Florida, you can have it
Yeah,
happen. I mean, so
everywhere.
it can happen, Florida, California. I mean,
Yeah.
we can have earthquakes everywhere there's an issue. So,
Yeah.
you just got to kind of have a plan B.
Yep.
And there again, insurance. Can't stress enough. Insurance, insurance,
Insurance,
insurance.
insurance, insurance, insurance.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Now we were going to talk about the Majestic today. We're going to schedule that for next week, barring there's no other natural disasters that happen in our world. And then the week after that, we'll kind of get delving back into the Hard Rock and some other resorts. Eventually, we plan on bringing on some past brides, future brides, resort wedding planners. So if you're out there and you'd be interested in setting up a time and getting on our podcast, we would love to meet you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it'll be exciting once we have some of our couples on here to just really talk about what their experience was like planning a destination wedding in another country.
Yeah, I did my own, and I'm as an agent, I wish I hired somebody. I'm not lying. I mean, because when you do this all the time, you think I can handle that. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, and mine was just, it was a second marriage, 29 people, should be easy. I can do this. Boy, I did not enjoy my day as I should have, and I'm not going to lie. I
Yeah.
should have had someone else handle it, and I should have been the agent to hire another agent. So I'm just saying I should have, but shoulda, coulda, would have,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
handled it,
absolutely.
but I probably would have enjoyed the day much more if I would have let somebody else handle my issues that I know that happens to everybody else. I don't know, but we all kind of think backwards on that. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah. So from us, we want to say, one love to Jamaica. We are thinking of you. And then that's all for today with Wedding Talk with Mindy and Carol. Until next time, everyone.
Yeah, and don't forget to subscribe and visit our website that will be coming up very shortly, destinationweddingtalk.com. We'll have lots of resources up there. And, remember, we're getting Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all up and running as well too. So,
We're working on a little bit at a time. We're just giving us,
yeah, and if you have a
as always.
topic you want us to talk about, just let us know.
That'd be great. That'd be great. Until then, see you next time.
See you next week.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more wedding inspiration and tips. Visit us at destinationweddingtalk.com for resources and updates. And as always, send us your questions to Mindy and Carol. We love hearing from you. Join us again next week for the latest episode of Wedding Talk with Mindy and Carol. Until then, happy planning.